Not only am I excited to talk about your books, which two I do have
Okay,
personally,
the OG.
but the way I found out that you was an anthropologist, a tech
Oh,
anthropologist.
yes, yes.
Oh,
Babe, we're about to get into it. We're about to get into it. We're
oh,
about to get into
because
it.
I'm known for my little SAT questions, but it's because
Okay.
I'm very inquisitive about subjects.
Let me tell you something. You want to get nerdy together? Let's deep dive, honey.
Oh, I, okay. Let me do your intro, and then we're gonna deep dive into these questions.
Baby, don't threaten me with a good time.
All right,
Okay?
all right. So, welcome back to Black Girl Tired Book Talk. I'm your host, Storm. We are stepping into the brilliant mind of a woman who lives at the intersection of culture, community, technology, romance, and rebellion. Nikki
Mm,
Payne is an anthropologist and specifically a tech anthropologist who understands deeply the power of well told fairy tales and the impact of romance tropes on the human psyche. She builds the world she wants to live in, and with heroes and heroines from many backgrounds, borrowing heavily from her own Southern African American upbringing, but also crossing cultures, histories, and boundaries. She has said that church on Sunday and romance novels are two of the most segregated places in America. And because of that, multicultural love still feels like the final frontier of romance writing and a necessary terrain for shared understanding. By day, Nikki is a PhD cultural anthropologist solving major technology issues. She has worked as a tech anthropologist in the Biden administration with the United States Digital Service, helping shape human centered policies around AI and emerging technologies.
yes,
By
ma'am.
but by night, she is
Babe.
out here subverting the classic literary canon, taking Jane Austen and making her deliciously black, brown, multicultural, and modern. Writing steamy, political, sharp, culturally nuanced retellings that honor the original themes while unapologetically reclaiming spaces. Nikki Payne is not just writing romance, she is rewriting who gets to be centered, desired, protected, chaotic, brilliant, and worthy of a happily ever after. And tonight we're going to dive deep.
Oh, babe, close the book, man. Like, we done. We discussed it. Like, that was beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Girl, we out here.
I was this morning. They have this thing called the Morning Collective with the
Yeah.
book club called Specs and Recs.
Hmm.
And I was on there like, I don't know what questions I should ask. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep. I don't know what.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love them all. I love them all.
Okay. So let's start with your origin story.
Yes, ma'am.
What made you become Nikki Payne, the writer? How did your background as a Southern African American woman, a scholar, and a lover of fairy tales shape the voice you bring to romance today?
Oh, that's such a good question, and it started for me in really imaginative play as a
Mm.
kid. Let me tell you something. The me and these Barbies, me and these Barbies. It was me, and I had this one Barbie. We didn't have a lot of money, so I just had to keep that Barbie real nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the storylines, baby, the way Young and the Restless raised me, the way Victor Newman and them, okay, gathered me together. My Barbie storylines, baby, it was twins, it was amnesia, you know what I mean?
Oh.
But like it was sabotage, intrigue, and I loved telling stories. I loved taking these Barbies and getting into someone's life. I was
Mm.
I was one of those kids who I had a really kind of chaotic upbringing. Born in Houston, Texas, H Town, stay down, baby, and and I like to kind of retreat into myself because it was
Yeah.
kind of safer sometimes than
Yeah.
being out there in the world. And I relied so heavily on my little imaginary Barbies to be living these
Mm.
perfect lives when I couldn't, you know?
Yeah. I totally get that. Born and raised Chicago, so so
Yeah.
anthropology, for those
Yeah.
of y'all who don't know, anthropology is the study of human nature, past and present, bones, language, culture, social behavior, and history. That was my major before I changed it to biology.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, baby, because we're about to get into it. I rarely meet another anthropologist, like
My
another
major was
anthropologist.
anthropology and a minor in archaeology.
Oh, so you understand? So you understand? Okay, I
But then
love
I
this because
changed it because I wanted to become a thoracic surgeon.
yeah.
So I changed it to biology to go into on the pre med track.
Oh, this is about to be so juicy because I love the way that any like, especially black women read the book, but a
Mm.
black woman anthropologist, you're going to pick up shit. You know what I mean?
And that's
You're
what I
gonna
try
pick
to
up.
keep people to
Yeah,
understand when I do my reviews and I'm dissecting and I have my notebook. It's
yeah.
not just because I'm just, yes, I'm curious, but I break down books because that's what I am. That's what I
Yes,
do.
yes, yes, yes.
So where do you see where do you see the deepest intersection between anthropology and storytelling? Like, how
Mhm.
has your academic training shapen or sharpened the way you build character, conflict, and um, community?
Oh, that's so good. I'll answer this two ways. The first way is I think humans are wired for stories. I
Mm,
think fundamentally we are around the campfire. We're coming down off of trees and looking around. We
mm,
are wired to tell a story about the world to make sense of it. And if you look in any culture, you look in any like things that feel people who haven't even like been in full contact with the world, the first thing that they have as a culture is a story, an origin story about who
mm,
they are and what they are. Stories
mm,
about morality, about how to be in the world, how to love in the world, and how to see. I think stories are the thing that makes us human,
mm,
and language and those types of things. I think that's like deeply, deeply human.
mm,
But I also think, and the second part of your question, love stories in particular,
mm.
I think there is a certain, of course, there's this chemical aspect of falling in love,
Yeah.
but there's this cultural aspect, right? Of
Mm,
like what you find desirable, how you come into the world, what you think is your type, and all those things that you think is just naturally you. But
yeah.
it's so much culture being pressed inside of you. When I was doing research on aesthetics and desire, which is
Mm,
like, what do we find beautiful? What do we find powerful? What's the relationship between what we find beautiful and powerful? Turns out it's one to one,
yeah.
and and I found that in these like dating apps and all of this like Hinge and all that, that
Mm,
black women and Asian men were like the least swiped right on. They
yeah.
were perceived to have like less sexual capital than their other counterparts,
Mm-hmm.
because of our notions of masculinity and femininity. You know, like what they say about any kind of black woman with any kind
Mm-hmm.
of musculature, or like Asian men who are constantly emasculated and seen
Yeah.
as like non masculine. I thought when I'm writing a story,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a cultural anthropologist and I just love people having intercultural conversations in the first place, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if I'm going to write a sexy story, I'm going to really interrogate what bodies get to be in this story, and
Mm-hmm.
who gets to, sorry, can I curse? Who gets to fuck? Do you know what I mean?
I cuss all the time. You fine.
You know what I mean? Like, I find that so compelling. Like, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite movies from a long time ago, Aaliyah, Romeo Must Die, right? There was this scene, right, where they were supposed to kiss, but
Mm-hmm.
they cut it out, right? For a
Mm-hmm.
variety of reasons. And if you look at any like of those movies where like an Asian man is the lead in the past,
Assassin with Rain and the Black Lead.
yep, he does not get the girl.
Mm-hmm.
He does not complete the arc, the romantic
Yeah.
arc, right?
Yeah.
It's something to that. It's something to that. Anyway, so I just got so interested in like what's hot? Why do we find something desirable? How
Mm-hmm.
much of it is taught? How much of it is real? And when I thought about writing Pride and Protest, I was like, what if we took these archetypical characters, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Bennet is the archetype of witty and desirable, and Mr. Darcy is he is the prototype of handsome, brooding, billionaire. Like he
Yeah.
is all the things. But what if you made that body Asian? What if you made that delightful, witty woman a roundaway girl from DC? What
Mm-hmm.
changes? You know, what stays the same? And it's yeah, it was. I love that type of thing.
Mm. You said you borrowed heavily from your Southern Black roots
Oh yes,
in your
yes.
writing. What
Mhm.
traditions, lessons, and beliefs or cultural nuances do you feel show up the strongest in your characters?
Mhm. I definitely think there is a way of speaking and a way of seeing the world that
Mm,
that Southern Black folk really encapsulate.
mm,
Like even the way that I particularly like to speak and write in metaphor.
mm.
If I say something like it's hotter than a or colder than a well digger's ass in Montana, like that's just the way my
Yeah,
mother said it was cold. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And that's just and when I have a character say it's colder than XYZ or this race is tighter than a rusty bolt or like
yeah,
that way of speaking and
yeah.
infusing these characters with this metaphorical language where they'll say something and then they will use a metaphor to double down on what they
Mm,
said. That's the way we spoke in the South, and
yeah,
we spoke in metaphor. We spoke in aphorisms where we said things over and over and over with the same title.
yeah,
Like one of my
yeah,
favorite things we used to do is, as kids when we were young, kind of sitting around the table, kind of jonesing on each other. We would do this kind of like looking boy, where you would be like, "Oh, some looking boy, oh, some head ass," and you just say that thing over and over and over.
yeah.
And that's just a form of black speech that it finds its way like into my writing, like this old
Mm.
head ass or looking boy, like type of
I
thing.
feel that. I feel
Yeah.
that. As someone who studies human behavior, do
Mhm.
you believe romance is one of the clearest windows into who we are as a society?
Mm. I love these. I love these questions. Are you in Chicago right now? Where
Yes, I
are you? Where are
am.
you?
I
Let's get
am.
coffee, sis. Like,
If you ever in
you,
Chicago, if I ever come to where you're in Texas right
I'm in
now,
DC. I'm in
in
DC.
DC, we just had a book event in Virginia.
Oh, we don't love that.
Ah.
If I'm next time in Chicago, I'm getting you a coffee. And you can get all the syrups, okay? Get all the things. Get lobster in it, okay? No, no, these questions are so beautiful. They're so thoughtful. I think
Thank
honestly,
you.
like when you are falling in love, isn't
Mm,
it a little aspirational? Don't you think a little bit about like not just who you are right now, like I'm
mm,
fine, I'm gonna do this, but like you're also like, this is who I wanna be. You
mm,
are have you ever like whether you are in love or not, when you have like a crush or like a work crush or something,
mm.
do you ever like wake up in the morning, you just like, you know what, it's the yellow dress today, and you just kind of put on that extra lip gloss. I think falling in love, being in love, or the hope of being in love even is a thing that moves humans and people to action. It's the thing that gets you up in the morning sometimes to do a thing that you wouldn't have normally done. You take this path instead of that because you might meet Brandon on that path, or you try this new thing because someone you like likes that thing, and then suddenly you're into football for a couple of
Mm.
years. You know what I mean? Like it opens you up. It's this one time where you're like willing to be um, open to being this aspirational version of yourself.
Do you think that minus the stimuli of like neurons and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the soulful aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
where it goes into fatedness,
Yeah.
the fates or cosmic whatever. So, do you think that also plays a big part of it? That people they acknowledge the medical aspect of it, the biological and physiological aspect of it, but they don't take the spiritual, cultural aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think so too. There is this sense of us in the Western world. We want to turn everything into like some sort of pathology. But sometimes, like,
Yes.
when you're like when you're the old folks used to say like that don't sit right with my spirit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Are these ways that we talk about feelings that are not here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We won't necessarily say like I feel this in my gut or something, but you'll
Mm-hmm.
say like, I just sat with that person and it just settled my spirit, and it
Mm-hmm.
just settled me. And the way that I think, especially as Black folk, we have a way of talking about the spirit as a thing that can be aroused
Mm-hmm.
or suspicious. Like when you're discerning, it's a discerning spirit. This
Mm-hmm.
thing, the way that we talk about our gut and
Yeah.
our soul is very embodied, and it tells us information about who
Mm.
to not trust, but also who to love and
Mm.
who to take in.
Mm.
And that's not to say that it can't be wrong, but in that moment, spirit was saying yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, because people be like, I feel in my shondo, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So,
yeah, yeah,
I totally get it. But that was just a question because, like you said, it's rare to talk to people who really are into anthropology
yeah,
or
yeah,
cultural anthropology or any
yeah.
type of anthropology, hell, archaeology. So, so it's just interesting. That's why I was trying to. I didn't know how deep to go with my questions,
Yeah, do
so
whatever I'm at your
I
service,
just
sis.
typed them out and was like, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna roll with them.
I'm in it. I'm in this. I'm in this.
Okay, anthropology also focuses on like power dynamics, belonging, identity, and culture. So, how does these concepts influence the way you rewrite classic literature in especially white-centered
Hmm.
classics into spaces that feel welcoming for black and multicultural readers?
Yeah, yeah. No, this is such a good question because I have a lot of people saying like, "Hey, like why retell these white stories? Like
Mm-hmm.
why be in this space?" And a couple of things I'll say first is I just kind of grew up in this pocket. I'm a elder millennial, and I
Mm.
grew up in this pocket where, if you remember, they were remaking a lot of classic literature for some reason.
Yes.
Like you remember Romeo and Juliet,
Mm.
10 Things I Hate About You, She's the
Yep.
Man. You know what I mean?
Edgar Allan Poe, Shakespeare,
Yes.
um, every
Clueless. Clueless was a retelling of Jane Austen. Like everything
everything.
that Romeo and Juliet, I mean, that Romeo and Juliet shook my little world. But all of this to say, like, I grew up in this pocket where classical literature felt very accessible to me. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, this is like every movie was about, like, oh, this is a Shakespeare retelling, this is a Jane Austen
Mm.
retelling. And so I kind of grew up in this pocket where remixing the classics was something like, I don't know, very reachable and doable. But the one thing that I do love about I'm saying that to say that I am just a classics nerd as a result of that.
Mm.
I love that. But I will say that the reason why I love putting black and brown bodies in these places, rarely white folks. I don't know if I would like write a book with a white centered lead. I think we have a
Mm.
lot of stuff in the media already with white desire and desire toward
Yeah.
whiteness. I don't know if I want to add to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I want to add to the mystique of it all, you know?
Yeah.
So personally, that's just something I wouldn't do, but I do feel like that we have this notion when we are writing a story and reading a story about what types of stories are universal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What types of stories belong to everyone and what types
Mm.
of stories are niche. And they will tell you
Mm.
in publishing, like, oh, let's put this in, this niche category for these specific people to read. And
Yeah.
what that is telling you is that a black story, that black love or black pain or black delight and black joy and
Mm.
black desire is not interesting and not universal, and
Mm.
in ultimately like not universally human. And if you go all the way back to the full extent of that thinking, they're telling you that a white story is universally attachable because
Right.
these individuals have some sort of universality, some
Mm.
humanity that stretches across some boundary. So you can read Jane Austen, sure, that's fine, but white folks can't read like um, I'm just thinking of like white folks can't read Toni Morris and they can't possibly relate.
Yeah.
White folks can't possibly read Kenya Wright. What? I couldn't possibly relate. And so, do you understand the work that that does of
Yeah.
saying that their stories are reachable and tangible,
Yeah.
and our stories are impossible to relate to because there's no way we can get
Yeah.
inside the real world. And I think it does political work. All of this to say, sorry, I'm very
You're
too
fine. You're
long-winded.
fine.
But all of this to say that I think it's a little bit of a Trojan horse to put
Mm.
the bones of these universal stories like Pride and Prejudice. You put
Mm-hmm.
the bones in these universal stories, and you have people saying, "Whoa, this Pride and Prejudice! I know what happens here. I know these bones." And then you open up, bam, got you, dummy. It's a black story. You know what I mean? And so, and so, like, there's this assumption that when people say it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, that they already know. They go, "Oh,
Yeah.
we know the heart of this story." And then when you open it up, Lisa is um, in a gentrifying city, and she can't afford to live in the place that she is, and her mother is, like these are the concerns and the embodiment of a black woman,
Yeah.
and you get to be in that place, and you don't get to fight against her universality. You don't get to fight against her humanity. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So before I move to the next question, I'm going to say this to everybody that's listening so you can follow along at when I'm asking these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Tech anthropology examines culture, shapes how it shapes technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's the study of how humans behave with technology.
Yep.
Investigates the user experience,
Mm-hmm.
and analyzes social implications.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did I leave something out?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. So, with that being said, I want to ask you, how has your knowledge as a tech anthropologist influenced your writing, your world building, your themes, your social commentary, and even your politics inside your characters?
Oh, this is another one that's so good. You're so good. Okay. If you notice throughout all of my books, okay, I
Mhm.
don't have sex, lies, and sensibility near me.
I got it.
Um, and even like Princess and the PI, you will notice that there is a steel thread
Hmm.
of the impact of technology on these people. So if you
Hmm.
think about Lisa, the reason why her and Dorsey end up kind of bonded together, they accidentally go viral together, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
everyone starts making these crazy memes, right?
Hmm.
And Nora has that sex tape that she cannot escape. That pops up over and over and over, And
Yeah.
in this book 3, she's trying to steal this vest from this kind of evil tech company,
Hmm.
where where she tries to, take her tech invention back from her brother.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
single one of these stories, technology is the catalyst for what moves these people into action. And you
Hmm.
think of the technology, what it represents right now. It's the public square right now.
It is.
If you want to you want to go and shout something out to the rooftops, you go to Threads, you go to TikTok. You want to,
Hmm.
that's the public place. It is also this space that feels like you can pile on a lot of ridicule, a lot of reputation onto those
Yeah.
spaces. Like when you think about people in the 1800s, if I'm retelling a story of Jane Austen, you're like, well, a girl doesn't have to worry about her, reputation. She doesn't have to get married to a guy that she was caught kissing. That's not a
Yeah.
real thing anymore. But what if that notion of a woman's reputation is still there, but it has completely shifted to the online space? Being, imagine if you had a viral video with your ass out, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Popping pee that keeps coming up, or you're like one of those people that like Scarlett takes a tumble, or these viral videos that your ass out, or something else, and it becomes entirely who you are. And
Hmm.
technology has this way of, you think when I was coming up, we were like making these Black Planet like MySpace pages
Yeah. Yeah.
and forming our identity through those pages, but it's completely reversed now. These social media platforms form your own identity. Like you are supposed to go onto these platforms and like become your real self, as opposed
Mm.
to the way we approach social media. We're just like, let me put my best picture on this
Yeah.
plant page. You know what I mean? And let me go
Yeah.
out. But now it's like you have to be real. You have to be yourself,
Yeah.
and there's no distance anymore between a social media space and who you really are. You know,
That's
and so
facts.
I always find myself interrogating my character's relationship um, to social media and the outside world, and what their decisions, their decisions impact social media.
Mm. So you worked in the Biden administration
I did.
on tech policy, and you also were there during the new AI executive order. Um,
I sure was.
so what
Right
did
there.
that work entail? Like, how might AI change the landscape for authors, cover designers, audiobook narrators, readers, the future of digital storytelling?
Yeah, girl, you are in a this is an interesting time right now, because right now on Threads everybody's in
Girl, I saw it.
fisticuffs.
I saw. Ooh,
Fisticuffs,
Jesus.
baby, fisticuffs.
Ooh.
Okay, um, this is a tricky situation. I work in AI policy, so one of my major fears, even outside of um, books and media, is the way that we are potentially using AI to manage facial recognition, and
Mm,
how the data that we're feeding the facial recognition algorithm is trained on 35-year-old white men,
mm,
and how it can't properly determine the face between one black woman or another black woman, and will say, look, we found our culprit,
yeah,
and it's just a brown person with a bag, or you know what I mean. So like,
yeah.
one of my major fears is, that's not to say that like, oh no, writing and art and all of that, but like, one of my major fears is letting AI turn over systems of justice,
Mm-hmm,
and how that impacts black and brown bodies.
mm-hmm.
Letting AI take over, like these AI dogs that are walking in and around New
With
York
ice at that.
with ice, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, yeah, like AI in books, I get it. Don't draw any weird pictures. It sucks. But babes, the way I am in 3008, and then I can't. To me, I'm like, our bodies are quite literally on the line, um,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of the poor implementation of this system,
yeah.
and the way that it's now honestly feeding itself content,
Mm-hmm.
because it's run out of viable content. So, so let me just preface that by saying, boy, is AI cover art very, very low on my shit of things to worry about for AI. Okay, but
I second
boy, is
that.
it low.
I
Okay,
second that.
boy, is it low. But I will say that that people have really strong feelings. There's this association of AI with theft, and Claude AI just paid out all of these authors because um, they were feeding their algorithm with authors' material, and I've even been affected and impacted because the girl loves an M dash. Do you know what I mean? The girl
Mhm.
loves a quick, and he didn't. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
now, and because that algorithm was fed on real work, on real authors material,
they think an
now
M
when you
dash is
yeah,
everybody's
now
doing
when
it.
you see an M dash, you say, oh, look at this AI. Like, no, like, my nigga, Jane Austen had 50,000 M dash. Like, no, you know
Man,
what I mean? It's called literary writing. And so now when I'm writing, I have to find a janky ass comma. Commas are so ghetto. They're just so ghetto. And I have to like have this cute little side thought, but use a comma. Commas, no. Anyway, all of this, Like, come on. Okay, she says I love M dashes. Come on, you know what that
I
you
do
know
too, but I wound up stop using them so much. Like even in my
that.
Substack posts, because I
Yeah.
like do my Substack post and I write, and then I have M dashes, and then I literally had to go back in it and change them out to fucking commas and the three dots. Dot dot
Oh,
dot.
3 dots, baby.
I
We have
hate that.
hell.
I hate it.
Oh my.
I hate it, but I did it because I did not feel like tussling with the girls.
Oh my gosh. No, when you said 3 dots, that triggered me because I did the exact same thing. You know what it reminds me of? When Nene went to that place, she said they got white refrigerators. Like it's very like, woo, the
Like
ghetto.
I literally had to do that because of this. And you are right. The lowest thing on my mind is that part of AI. Is it wrong? Yes.
Yeah.
For stealing people's shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. But they have been stealing and pirating stuff since fan fiction.
Yeah.
So it is not a thing that I like, but it is
Yeah.
something that has been happening
Yeah.
forever.
No.
We
Somebody
have
made an interesting. Oh.
no, I was just saying it's just bigger things on the horizon. I
Yeah.
heard more about the y'all are using covers that are AI than I heard about the black woman who took her life being uh being who is a cosplayer in
Yep.
fantasy and
Yep.
paranormal stuff. She is a
Yep.
black woman, educated, and
Yep.
she took her life due to racism and bullying in that space
Yep.
and online and going to these conventions as a
Yeah.
black woman
Yeah.
cosplaying. I didn't hear nothing
And
about that.
sold
I didn't
Barbies.
hear nothing about the people, those little kids that jumped that woman
Yep.
in here in
Yep.
Chicago. I
Yep.
didn't hear nobody saying, you know what, as a community, let's just do some literary work within the community for these
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
and their parents to
Yeah.
keep them busy. We were so focused. I'm generalizing. I'm really generalizing for real. We were really focused on AI covers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it make sense.
The thing that people don't understand when they are chronically online is
Mm,
that they sound very very online when
mhm.
they shout about these, and again, I'm not like, I am a writer and I understand that that process of creating that content is amounts to theft. I do completely agree with that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
um However, I think that grandstanding online
Mhm.
is becoming my, like, people that do that are like becoming my number one ops, because there there are people that will flip over tables online and will go and use like AI systems in their work. Like most people have been forced to
The
adopt
phones.
Copilot and their phones, forced to adopt Copilot in their work and teams, and like they're building out um, all of these workflows and systems, and no one, I, I can't even get into the ways that the federal government is, in some instances, completely misusing the technology. Not
That
to make anyone afraid, but I'm saying that you can absolutely go out. Like there are data centers being planted in poor Black communities right now that are absolutely polluting entire like areas, right? Like there are huge AI things to like be fighting and be about. And I just
exactly.
don't know if I just don't know if covers are
I
it.
mean, I can't tell anybody how to do their activism because that is your choice. That is your freedom of speech. That is your Second Amendment right. But as a black person, we have a lot of stacked. We have a lot stacked against us. People of color, brown, Asian, whatever, we have so much stacked against us.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee this is the least of the problems
Yeah.
because we are sitting in the cusp of going in a full circle instead of stopping the circle.
And somebody made a point on Threads that was very interesting. Now, if you've ever tried to make your own book cover,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever tried to get two brown people romancing each other. Here are the options for brown people. It's like despair, like, and then or the lighting's all weird, it's not romantic, or it's just this one guy. The red is too damn hot, like it's like, if you can find like two black people in a gorgeous embrace, congratulations. If those black people look anything like what you described in your book, you are in heaven right now. If those black people look anything like your book and are usable in any way, like the links that we are expected to go to, because there are very few Asian, Native American, indigenous black bodies in that
Mm,
space. The length
yeah.
that we're expected to go to, the money, the extra money, okay, the tax on that invisibility that we are expected to pay,
Hmm.
for the principle of the thing. I do think it's a little, you know what I mean? It doesn't sit right personally conmigo. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sit right with me.
It's
It,
always black people that have to go the extra mile
yeah. And you do all this
for
virtue signaling,
activism
like,
or to make things right, to make
yep,
things fair, when we are not even living in a free, fair society.
babe. What does Zora Neale Hurston say? Black woman, the mule of the world. You know,
Mm,
like
mm.
we are expected to people on our carry these principles on our back, lose money, pay more money, right, for the privilege of saying, I didn't use this system, while everyone steps over us to do, and so you get to be principled.
And I feel
And
like we're always the cash cows for everybody else.
yep,
It's
oh,
like it's this line of, how can I say this? It's this line of, culturally, people think of wealth as rich.
yep,
They don't understand what wealth really means.
yeah,
And so the quick fix is the richness that appeases the masses for envy. And
yeah,
then the wealth is underlooked, but is coveted by the white people.
yep,
That's how I see it.
yep, yep.
So
I absolutely agree.
let me ask you, and since we're talking about the covers and stuff, I want to dive a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
So there's fear that AI covers from harm human artists,
Yep.
but there's also reality. Many
Mhm.
authors can't afford custom covers and the rates in the current economy, at least not good ones.
Yeah.
So how do we discuss this with nuance, and how do we have a real conversation without turning it into moral policing or gatekeeping?
Girl, you are speaking, because right now what I'm seeing is a lot of virtue signaling, right?
Mm.
And what the Black Romance Book Fest did, which was fantastic, is bring all these folks together to say, like, here's some resources, here's some
Hmm.
great artists, like, let's connect, let's build our resources together, because
Hmm.
oftentimes when you're a writer, you can kind of be in a tunnel to say, like, oh, I looked at my three resources, my pixel or whatever, they didn't have the images, so you kind of stop looking, right? Or
Hmm.
you realize that you've time boxed finding this into a certain time, and if it moves over that, then you're like, okay, I gotta move quick. And so
Yeah.
what Black Romance Book Fest is doing is giving authors resources and connecting fantastic artists that are
Yeah.
inexpensive, are starting out, or even some that are fantastic,
Yeah.
um, and reasonably priced, that and they're connecting those things. I think being the plug, right,
Yeah.
is important. And um, I do think there are like all these really cool ways that, like book covers, we don't have to have humans and human representatives on the cover. Like, I have some of the best book covers I've seen are just like the kind of font and flowers and fruit,
Hmm.
like Kennedy Ryan's Kingmaker. Excellent cover,
Hmm.
right? It's a flower and some cute font, you
Hmm.
know? If we want to have people representations because you think that signals that this is a romance, it doesn't
Hmm.
always signal that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of this to say that, like, I think that we have gotten, um, really, really wrapped up in one way to do things. And what I think
Mm,
the Black Romance Book Festival is doing right is saying, hey, we see this gap. We see this gap in knowledge and understanding, and they're attempting to plug it with real action, not
mm-hmm.
online keyboard warrioring. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yes, a lot of that.
Like that's the thing. Like they're just not heavily typing about what they don't like. They're
Yeah,
building something in the community. They're being a plug. And
yeah.
that to me is always going to be the difference. That's always going to be the difference.
Does white patriarchal colonial thinking play a role in the hostility around these debates, both in the publishing industry and in the tech spaces?
Baby, we got until next Tuesday. Let me tell you something because a couple of things. I feel like there is an aspect, particularly when we are looking askance at black and brown hosted like events like Steamy Lit
Mm-hmm.
and Black Romance Book Festival. um, there is a subset of folk of us that will complain about like the service at a black restaurant, right? They will sit
Yeah.
45 minutes waiting to be acknowledged for a dry pork chop at a white restaurant, right?
Mm.
They they do not see the distance and
Mm-hmm.
the extent to which they can oftentimes will themselves to be humiliated in white spaces because they imagine
Mm-hmm.
that this is somehow better, right? And they can't wait 10 extra minutes at a black place where they know the food is good and they know
Mm-hmm.
and the expectation is, well, I'm not servicing I'm not going to any more black places because look at this service, it's so terrible. But you will go and patronize places that have constantly disrespected you, played in your face. You still going to Target, my love. You know what I mean? Beloved, you are still out here buying Lululemon, you know?
Mm.
Like, I, like these people. These are these people who would rather white people play in their face than be
Mm-hmm.
mildly inconvenienced by community. And you can't trust that Negro type. You can't trust. It's a certain type of Negro I can't get with. You know.
Somebody said it on threads that they trying to de-nigga us. And at first I was laughing about
Can
it,
you
but
please
then
give
I
her
thought about it
the
while you was
actual
talking.
definition? I want the Webster definition of dick nigga. I need it right now.
I just when you was talking, I was thinking about what she had put on threads, and I was like, you know what?
You know what?
That's exactly what's happening. They
Yeah.
de-nigging us, like for real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
traditional publishing is $1 billion industry,
Yeah.
but black authors still aren't equally represented or supported.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not in advances, not in marketing, not in store placements, not in best-selling reporting. Why do you think we're still here in 2025, the year of Beyonce and Jill
Mm-hmm.
Scott,
That part.
fighting racism, old guard marketing, and misogyny and misogynoir?
Mm, This was also a very, very interesting debate. One of the things I'm traditionally published, but I read incredibly widely, and some of my favorite authors literally are um, are black authors in the indie space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always say that like one of the things I love to say is like Pride and Protest. I mean, Pride and Protest ran, no, I'll say redemption walk so Pride and Protest can run. You know what I mean? Like I love redemption so much. By Kenya Wright. But all
She's
of this
one
to
of
say
my
that
favorite authors.
baby, golly, the way she just gets
Every
into
book, I
spirit.
have not read a book from her that I did not like.
I eat them like chips. I eat them like chips. I do love when the hero is non-white though. Like that
I
one that with
do.
the Indian
I love
dude.
her Asian ones. I
Oh,
love
the
her
Asian one. Oh
because Dragon.
my god. I digress. But I'm saying this to say this was a like there is this like tension or perceived like tension between like what traditional authors are producing or are seen to
Mm,
be producing and indie authors. Like indie authors are like, oh, we are closer to our craft, so we don't get to like we don't have to compromise on what we say and write and etc.
Mm,
And um, something that I feel is very interesting is that the reason why the indie space is thriving like it is because Black women have been traditionally shut out of these um, like traditional modes of publishing. But at that same time, I will say that my experience doing like writing traditionally, I'm not being edited. Like my blackness is not being moved into a corner. Like I promise you, this is how I really talk. This is how I really am. Do you know what I mean? And so like this notion that somehow like to get published, you have to de-nigger. You know what I mean? Like
right, right.
you have to de-nigger to be published. I think it takes away from the multiplicity of blackness, from the
Mm-hmm.
many experiences that people have. I understand I'm a cultural anthropologist with a PhD. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to write stories with a certain bend and a
Mm-hmm.
certain way of thinking in the world. But when you open my book, the characters are black and they're having black experiences just by virtue of the way that they grew up. But um, they haven't been like sanitized for public consumption in that
Mm-hmm.
way. I mean, not with me and my editor. She wilder than me. She but like this notion that somehow like you have to give up something, or there's this blood pact where you got to cut your wrist, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
he is all my nigga, and then like and now I'm free to write. Like that's not how that is. That's not the experience. You're
Yeah.
just able to move through these specific channels, and for some reason. And I will tell you this,
Mm.
okay? Nearly, I'm going to say 100%, maybe 99% of the black authors that I know right now who are traditionally published got traditionally published not using that traditional query method. I didn't query. None of the people who are published now use that method of sending a query letter to a publisher. I mean, to an agent and getting an agent and getting a publisher. We all had to, in order to be traditionally published, had to skip the querying method, that agenting method where the agents are deciding what's the next big thing. We all had to skip it because
Mm.
that agenting method is gatekeeping. It is keeping stories out from the like mass public. And we I was in pitch wars. My other friend was in pitch wars, like and other people like won contests or went directly to the editor. There are instances where we are skipping past that one level that most of the black authors are having to drudge their or like army crawl their way through, which is querying. If
Mm.
I had to sit and still query, I would not be published today.
Mm.
Period.
Mm. So ebooks and audiobooks are also a billion-dollar industry
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
but the
yeah.
data often erases black contributions.
Yep.
What does the industry still why does yeah, why does the industry still rely on metrics built around white readership and white authorship?
Girl, I listen. We got to put our heads together on this one, babes, because your girl's got nothing. Okay, I got nothing. I honestly don't know. Like one of the things I was working for myself, and we can like have a larger conversation about this.
Yeah.
Is like when you're pointing to your publisher to say like, wait, I'm actually lit in these streets. Let me prove it. But
Yeah.
your scans are not very good, or like your numbers are showing that you're not selling a lot of books. Like, how do you show depth? How do you show that you're resonating in your community? And one of the things I was
Mhm.
thinking of is like, okay, a lot of us are library readers. Like, what is library
Mhm.
circulation looking like? Like, what are other types of metrics? I'm honestly thinking about this live right now. Um,
I
which I will.
you know, hmm, I think the problem is though indie makes a bulk of the money,
Mhm.
it's not seen on this social economic platform because it's indie.
It's got a prestige issue. Is that what you're
Yeah, it's
saying?
like a hierarchy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
I think that hierarchy is the reason why it's not in the numbers, but it's in the numbers.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that.
Right. Because if
I
you're
know
indie,
racism and
you can sell
sexism plays a big part, but
you can sell a truckload of stuff, but you're not making it to New York Times, right? Like if
right,
you sell indie, right? And
right.
that's like, and that's because the New York Times and all these newspapers, again, their metrics for what sells are based on point of sales in like fancy stores
Yeah.
in the Galleria, you know?
Yeah. Indie authors thrive on Amazon and Kobo,
Yeah.
romance especially.
Mm-hmm.
But black indie authors still face the algorithm bias, the
Mm-hmm.
review bombing, the lack of visibility.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
systematic changes do you think needs to happen?
You know what? I mean, I think we had it right in the 90s. It will take an enormous amount of input and effort, but we need to start like easing off of the teat of systems that don't serve us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like moving maybe from Goodreads to StoryGraph, like
Mm-hmm.
making these small moves. One of the things that Black people don't oftentimes give ourselves credit for is that we are the culture. We are the
Yes.
movement. So like
Yes.
when Black people left Twitter, Twitter fell off. You know what I mean?
It's now
And
a corn site.
it's now, yeah, it really is. And I started going on Threads because Threads started posting all these funny threads, and I was like, oh wait, is Black Twitter back? Are they just here on Threads? And I just follow Black Threads because it's hilarious and funny, and it's the culture. And I think what Black people don't give themselves enough credit for is that when we withdraw from spaces, the juice be gone. You know what I
We
mean?
do.
Like the juice be
Yes.
missing. If you allow me
Yes.
to use the be continually, do you know what I
Yes.
mean? I
Yes.
think um, that we have the capacity to hype something up and turn things into social phenomena quite naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we rely too much on those white metrics to mean success. And we ourselves, we think, oh, she's a bestseller. And oftentimes, those indie folks who are selling like gangbusters, who are resident in the community, are still feeling somehow at some second level, even though they're doing better than the traditional folks. It's just the metrics are,
Exactly.
yeah, the metrics are all fucked up, and they'll have you thinking that you're down here when you've been here. And I think we need to divest from those systems because they're telling us the wrong things
Mm.
about our reading community. They're telling us the wrong things about what it means to be successful, what it means to have a good community at all.
Yep.
But we're on the teat. It's our only way. We say, well, you know, Amazon this and this and Goodreads that, and we're just like, these aren't telling us the things that we need to know. Imagine going to um, like um, a like a white church and trying to test their praise and worship metric. You know what I mean? You're just like,
Yeah.
well, wait, where's the organ stomp? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're, and it's nothing against either one of these churches. It's just you can't go here
Yeah.
and create those metrics for that church. They're going to systematically fail on the
Mm.
black church scale. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think we set ourselves up for that because we can't divest from these systems that we think add value. We ourselves have been, you know, fed the thing that these are the valuable systems.
Yeah, because like big chain bookstores, and I was looking at some statistics today.
Mhm.
Um, made over $8 billion in 2024
Yep.
combined.
Yep.
Barnes and Noble, and I want everybody to hear me when I say this
Yes,
to
ma'am.
y'all. Barnes and Noble made over 3.5 billion of that 8 billion alone by itself. Yet black authors are still not on the front tables.
Nope. Nope.
What do you think is the long-term solution for black literary longevity, like black owned stores and better distribution or collective organizing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think black authors, I think we should be kind of clear eyed about the thing that we want when we start writing stories. I
Mm,
mean, it feels almost antithetical to say, like,
mm,
it feels silly to say I want to be on the New York Times, right? And it
yeah.
feels weird that I'm black and I feel silly saying I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. Like, it's
Mm,
just like, girl, what do you think you're on, right? Like, I think we have to be clear-eyed about what we're writing for. And what if Barnes and Noble never puts black stories out on the front table? What if
yeah.
a publisher drops all of their traditional black authors? Will we
Mhm.
suddenly run out of stories? Right? Like, what actually happens, and what do we count as success? I think that's something we have to powwow within ourselves.
Yeah.
Something that Mahogany Books and a coalition of black booksellers are doing are counting their bestsellers themselves and posting them to say, like, these books are
Mm,
selling like hotcakes in our stores, and there's a
mm,
black bestseller list, right?
yeah.
That and like, what would we do to, as you're an anthropologist yourself, and you know that value is completely
Yeah.
made up. We
Yeah.
decide how
Yeah.
much value something has. If we all look at New York Times and say this is the metric, then it'll always be the metric. But if we start to turn and give our flowers to black best-selling book lists and things like that, then I think we have to make a decision about where the value is. And we can't always believe what white folks just told us.
I think a lot of times we have a mental block. We are all in post traumatic slavery syndrome.
Oh yeah,
And
yes.
I feel like that we put value in things that are told to us because we don't know no better, because we
Oh,
want to forget the trauma that we went through coming here. So
girl,
therefore
yes,
I feel like when they tell us it's Christianity, we believe it's Christianity.
girl,
When
don't
we
even get me
when when they tell us that to be successful, you have to follow a Eurocentric a metric. To be black is to be the color of what they tell you that color is,
Yep,
because
yeah,
race, gender, as we all know, is a construct
yep,
and
yep.
it's made up
It's
by
made up
white.
specifically to serve capitalist purposes. You need
Exactly.
a underclass to justify these labor practices in capitalism. Like, it is
And
absolutely a necessity.
so I do think as that moniker of best selling New York Times bestseller is, yes, that is a tremendous feat for anyone to have.
Anyway, yeah,
But the problem is when you're black, it doesn't mean the same as when you're white.
yeah,
And it does not mean the same as the backing behind those companies that they would give that white author. Because we all know Miss Harry Potter is the
yeah.
worst human being on earth.
He is trash.
But and yet she had the power behind her to make her seem as important. Whereas you have someone like Kendi Ryan, Jaquel J,
Yeah,
Tati Richardson, I saw
yeah,
her come in here,
yeah.
Kenya Wright, Kenya Gorey Bell. You
Kenya
have
Corey
these
Bell, I love
you
her.
you have these people who are standards in which not they should be meeting these people's standards. They
Yep,
are on a standard of people need to be meeting their standard,
yeah, yeah.
so and that's why I said that post-traumatic slave syndrome has a lot of black people in a chokehold.
Babe, let me tell
And
you, some of the first characters I wrote when I started writing, I was writing black people, but they all had like green eyes and like
mm,
3A loose hair. Like, when I was like a teenager, and I felt like I had to write these people that were worthy of desire, who were worthy of
mm,
love, and they had to have something special about them.
mm,
No Jackson 5 nostrils. Like,
mm,
they all fit this prototype of black, but just something special, right?
mm,
Like, and sometimes I read through this stuff and I'm like, what the fuck does anybody have green eyes, babes? Like, it's gonna be okay. I'm saying
yeah,
this as a person who ended up becoming an anthropologist. Like, that stuff is in you, and you have to exercise it because we all
yeah,
grew up in this society that told us what
Yeah.
good and bad was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And once again, I want to say this again for those of y'all coming in here. The big chain bookstores. I want people to understand this. And I know this is gonna be on my YouTube channel, but I just want y'all to understand this. So when y'all do go on threads and y'all have these discussions, keep this in mind. The big chain bookstores made over $8 billion combined, but Barnes and Nobles
yeah,
alone made over 3.5 billion of that 8 billion.
yep,
Priorities, people.
yep,
Priorities.
yep,
So I want to get into Jane Austen.
yeah,
You once said Jane Austen wrote about societal hierarchy, feminism, bodily
yeah,
autonomy,
yeah,
heavy topics, but you kept the spirit while adding black and multicultural modern
yeah.
perspectives.
Mhm.
Does it feel like a full circle moment to reclaim an author who has historically um, been praised by white fascism?
Yeah, yeah, girl. Um, the way one of the things that I get still, like
Mm,
in my DMs when people pick up Pride and Protest, is like,
mm,
how dare you? Like, I like my stories traditional,
mm-hmm,
and people feel so pissed off
mm,
that you would dare to turn their all white lily world,
mm,
right, into a racially complex space. Like if you think about all these like beef when Bridgerton, and it was like this Regency, but it was
yeah,
like people of color from all over. People were pissed
yes,
because they want their nostalgia pristine. They want
mm,
their nostalgia nigga free. Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you cannot live in the good old days. Like
I
Make America
hate,
Great Again,
I
right?
hate it.
Yes. You know what Make America Great Again is really harkening back to? You know what they're nostalgic about, right?
It's the
You know
true
what?
meaning of the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They are thinking back to a time when racism and white supremacy was uncomplicated, right?
Yes.
When they were at the top and there were no questions asked,
They did
right?
what they
And
want.
when they look back and say, those were the days, like they are
Yeah.
dreaming of a time when they could be kings of the world with no impunity. And so
Yep.
when I write this story that white people feel like they own, you
Mm.
know, and say, make it black,
Yes.
and make this Asian really fuck, what I mean?
Yes.
Like it pissed people off. And so much so that we started to call those ladies Lady Karens. So there's this character in Jane Austen. Her name is Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Mm-hmm.
And but when those people would DM me to say like, keep Jane Austen traditional, you don't have to blah blah blah. We just started calling them Lady Karens. There's
Yeah.
so many people who said these are classic. These are in what world would these people ever be black? And you know what that's saying, right? That
Yeah.
these characters are here. Black people are here, and they would never have the access, never have they
Yeah.
can't imagine a world where black people are even afforded joy or a happy ending, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. It makes them mad. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. You know what I mean?
You know,
I'm really fine with it.
some white readers and alt-right groups try to gatekeep classics
Okay.
as their
Okay.
cultural territory. Do you feel hmm Do you feel classics are sometimes co-opted by racist groups trying to preserve a mythological
Yeah. Yeah.
past that never existed?
Yes, yes, babe. The answer's in the question. You're exactly right. And that's why the work of reimagining classics
Mm-hmm.
is political work. I feel like it's particularly work of the colonized. I
Mm,
let me tell you something. James won a Pulitzer
mm,
Prize And James is essentially Huckleberry Finn. But why is it a different story? It is the story from Nigger Jim, right? It is his side of the story. Nigger Jim.
Mm.
Spoiler alert. Well, I won't spoil James, but all of this to say that like this is reclamation work. This is a
Mhm.
retelling, right? There's so
Mhm.
many stories in which the subaltern or the brown body or the black body speaks in these colonized spaces to say this isn't how it goes. It goes like this. That's to me. That's literature, babes. It's
It's
literature.
it's it's the fuck Damon Edmond what's the name of that story? He was imprisoned.
Oh, the
The Count of Monte
the
Cristo.
Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah,
I
Crisco.
implore people to read the book that has the black man on the cover.
Yes.
That is a true story.
Yep.
Girl, don't get me
Yes.
started.
Yes. So you're right. That claiming of classic literature is a way to try to hold on to a story that wasn't even real to begin with. Even Jane Austen, even in Regency England, wrote stories with black people in them. Like there were
Yes,
black people in her work. Like Sanditon, that's her book. Do you know what I mean about the black heiress? That's Jane Austen. Like
girl.
if Jane Austen could imagine a world with black people, surely
But the crazy part
MAGA.
about it, just now, I expect it from white people that are on that wavelength of mentality.
Mhm.
But what blows my mind is black people that
Yeah.
be on that wavelength of mentality. Like, we were just slaves. Please know your history. I when Malcolm X said we didn't land on Plymouth Rock, Plymouth Rock landed on us. Not
Yeah.
all of us landed at the same spot, boo.
Let me tell you something. White proximity is a hell of a drug. It's a
Woo!
it will have you thinking that you on the new. I'm the
Mm.
new Negro. It will have you thinking. You know what I mean? Jay Z had this line from in his album 4/4. I love Jay Z because he's just such a laid back rapper now. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "I'm not black. I'm OJ."
Yep.
Pause. Okay. Right, like that. Just that. Those bars right there is enough. Like you tried
Enough.
to divest, you tried to be bigger than the program, and you found out. And I feel like white proximity. Same thing's happening to Kanye. For real.
Oh my God.
It like you see it happening. White proximity turns you into a person who feels like you have transcended race until
Man.
you make
Man.
mistakes. And then you, a nigga in a coop. R.I.P.
Mm.
Kanye.
So we're gonna dive into your books. I know some people are on here because they want to hear about the books, but
Okay.
goddamn it, she is an anthropologist, and I
Listen,
needed to talk to her.
listen. We got into it. We got into it.
Hell. So we're gonna start with Pride and Protest. All right.
Yay.
So Pride and Protest opens with a political protest
Yes.
and some mistaken identity moment.
Hmm.
What inspires you to retell Pride and Prejudice through gentrification,
Hmm.
activism, and multicultural lens?
Yeah, I think the original Pride and Prejudice is a very political book.
Mm.
And despite like even if you've read it in like ninth grade and you're forced to read it, there's this particular cousin that Elizabeth Bennet has, and he's a complete ridiculous dumb buffoon, Mr. Collins.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the person who's going to inherit that house
Mm-hmm.
because women can't inherit the house. And if you read even just the skimmed that book in the ninth grade because you were forced to read it, the one thing that you know when you close that book is that Mr. Collins is a buffoon who did not deserve to inherit that house. And
Facts.
and Jane Austen, who herself was unhoused and forced to move from house to house, felt that deeply. And by
Mm-hmm.
the end of that book, whether you know whether they fell in love or not, you also know that women should be able to inherit property, right?
Yes.
And like and when people read Pride and Prejudice and say, "Oh, this is just this is sweet romance," No, it is a sweet romance, but it's also a deeply political book.
It's
It's a deeply
layers.
political book. Yeah, it's layers, and you leave that book knowing more about that society, and you absolutely know Jane Austen's POV on the shit. You know, and so all of this to say is, I think that Pride and Protest is still in a way about land. It's still about
Yes.
inheritance and property,
Yes.
and who gets to have a say in
Yes.
that property.
You know
Yeah.
what? This you wrote this book, and I know you didn't see this happening this day and age where they were trying to take the bodily autonomy, the women's right to have their own bank account, to
Mhm.
vote, and take
Yep.
that all away.
Yep.
How has that just felt for you after writing such a book that
Yeah.
from Jane Austen, your book,
Mhm.
to what we're going through now?
Yeah.
What a fucking trip.
Yeah. 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 I think one of the things that I love about Dorsey, like people have their stances on billionaires, but one of the things that I love about Dorsey is that he took his time to learn about what was going on in that community.
Mm,
And he didn't let Lisa be his little tour guide to poverty. He started
mm,
taking classes. One of the best gifts he gave her was a book on eviction and
mm,
about what actually happens when people are unhoused and moved out of their property. And he had read it and dog-eared pages and highlighted stuff and made notes. He was learning about something that he didn't know. And
mm,
again, another major theme in Jane Austen is your ability to take new information and change your mind. You know,
mm,
and that's one of the reasons why I loved this Dorsey is that he took it upon himself. He said, "I have a blind spot," and he took
mm.
it upon himself to learn. He was motivated by his love for Lisa, but he did it. He did it,
Yeah,
and he was able to actually make, spoiler alert, affordable housing. You know, in DC,
yeah.
as opposed to making some out of pocket crazy condo.
Lisa B
Yeah,
is a
only DJ who gives a jam. Ah.
is a DJ, a revolutionary, and a community protector. What pieces of modern Black women did you want to highlight in her character?
Mhm. I definitely wanted her to be a bit of a loudmouth. I wanted her to
Mm-hmm.
be a mouthpiece. So maybe sometimes come out of the mouth before she had a plan. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Because she was like, I got concepts of a plan. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
gonna get it together. Don't worry. Don't worry.
yeah.
Um, and in DC, like DJ culture is just huge. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of sway. This is a big DJ culture here, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted her to have a bit of visibility and a lot of political ideas. But I wanted her
Mm-hmm.
activism to be a little incomplete, if you know what I mean. Like
Mm.
she is one of those people. She does put her money where her mouth is, but
Yeah.
she lacked agency. And one of the reasons why
Mm.
I made why Dorsey is so wealthy is that that is a code for being able to move in the world the way that he wants to.
Mm.
And I think they work so well together is because he had all this agency but lacked a vision,
Mm.
and she had all vision and lacked agency, and together they were incredibly powerful. You
Mm.
know?
Dorsey is the adopted Filipino son of a wealthy white family. He's
Yes.
navigating race and
Yeah.
belonging and power.
Yeah.
Um, why was it important for you, for your Mr. Dorsey, to
Mhm.
wrestle with identity and assimilation?
Yeah. Um, I always felt like in the original Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Dorsey always was standing on the at the edge of rooms, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
he always seemed like he didn't belong in a place. And when I thought about this character, um, sitting at the edge of a room, like what would make them feel perennially like
Mm,
they didn't belong? And this he's wealthy, he's in this transracial family where kind of Jolie Pitts, you know?
yeah, yeah. Let
Um, and the family, the parents thought this was like such a blessing to have like all these kids in the house of all these races, but it ends up being a curiosity to people and being a reason why all these people don't trust him with the business. Like for some reason, he should always be grateful that he was
Mm,
helped. He should always be, wow, it was really amazing what your dad and mom did, right? And everyone who encounters him, they come with this sense of like, wow, you really lucked out. You're a billionaire now, and this sense of he should be grateful and not he should be um, in control of them. He should actually be the boss. He doesn't know anything, right? And so like that is the tension that he's up against, this sense of not belonging someplace.
mm,
And Lisa's original sin when she sees him, when she meets him, is to he's brown, he's Filipino, and she imagines, oh, he's people. Like this is
right.
somebody from my community. And so she just, she spills all the tea. She's just like, my brother, hermano, she starts speaking Spanish. She's just like, listen, let me tell you about to blow the roof off this suck. And he feels so offended that she did not recognize that he was like not her class and not her people. You know,
Mm,
part of the reason why he was like, "Oh, I got something for her," because she
yeah.
immediately clocked him as part of them when it was his major number one wound is not belonging in the class that he was in.
Mm, damn. So let's get to my favorite.
Yeah. Oh my baby. Oh my man, my man, my man, my man. Boy, I love Bear Baby.
Okay.
Don't get me started on this man, because my man, my man.
Two sisters inheriting a dilapidated inn in Maine
Yeah.
is such an amazing setup.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you use the environment to explore isolation, identity, and the black girl out of place experience?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to move them into a place that's gonna be collectively like WTF. And I feel like black folks have in our imagination, like when we think of places, we immediately think of places that have or don't have black folks. And when you say Maine,
Mm,
the first thing you think is ain't no black folks there. I mean, I
yeah,
personally, when I think of Maine, I'm like, oh, ain't no black folks there, right? And so when you think of a place that's way out there, it's not.
yeah,
We can have the girls just move to Chicago, right?
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
wanted the girls to move to a place where you go, like, what are they gonna do out there, right? So
yeah.
I wanted to create that sense in that black imaginary of like, Maine, girl, ain't no black folks out there. So I want them to be like, you in danger, girl, and and then to have them contend with having to have a new skill set. Like
Hmm.
they were kind of pampered. They were
Yeah,
taken care of, even as their father's kind of second family. They were taken care of, and Nora's like, "Listen, I've seen enough HGTV to get this ball rolling. What
yeah,
I ain't gonna
yeah,
do is give Felicia an easy layup. You know what I mean? Let's try it. So she and her sister are like, babe, say less. We are taking our black asses to Maine. You
yeah.
know?
Okay. So
Yeah.
Nora hasn't seen a black motherfucking person
Yeah.
for miles
Miles. And
in
see, that's what I
rural
want.
Maine.
Yeah.
Was that isolation intentional to address race, belonging, and identity?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted those girls to feel like they were completely on their own. And
Mm,
no one could possibly understand the complexity of them and their life, and like it would have to be these sisters depending on each other.
yeah.
And what I found really interesting and compelling about having an indigenous hero is that no two subgroups in America have had more similar situation, like backstories than indigenous folks and enslaved folks. So
Mm-hmm.
much so that our histories blend like this sometimes,
Yes.
and um, and indigenous folks have plenty to talk about without a white person entering the room. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much history, so much conversation about enslaved folks, and like so many things. And
Yeah.
I felt like um, I wanted Nora to be surprised at how much she could potentially have in common
Mm,
with an indigenous hero. Like one of the things that I found out that was really quite interesting was um like per capita, as far as like true engagements, indigenous folks are um, not surviving their encounters with the police at all. Like, so when we talk about like police violence and death by police, it's actually just by percentage alone. Native American indigenous folks top the list, even over Black folks when it comes to police violence, right? And
Mm.
so one of the things that I found interesting and why I put Bear in conflict with the police first was to establish this kind of fact of, hey, when you are not, a white body,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be over policed. You're going to be over surveilled, and this is what it's going to look like. And then to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I got to talk real nice to this police. I got to move slow. He didn't have the ability to just walk up and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? He didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that. He was indigenous, right? And so like it was one of those things that I wanted to establish is this common experience of a Black body and an indigenous body to be constantly over policed.
Mm. So Bear is what is it? Abenaki?
Yeah, yeah.
Abenaki indigenous.
Hmm.
Um how did you balance cultural respect and historical truth with a, I guess, a romantic element, chemistry?
Yeah, yeah. I traveled to Maine. I went there and I connected with Abenaki leaders and connected with folks in the community. I went there and sat my ass there, and I don't want to guess. It's like certain things you can tell when people are phoning it in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not something that I wanted to guess about. And so I went there, and me and my friend we took a little trip, and we sat in sessions about like salmon, and we talked about the river, and we talked about things that were keeping them up at night. And I wanted to build a character who cared about the things that the people that I spoke to cared about,
Mm-hmm.
and still making that part of the story of their love. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing the major conflict here is that Bear has maybe been taking some money that he shouldn't have from someone. He feels a little bit of guilt for that as
Yeah.
well. He's not been able to pay her back in time, and but he has this opportunity to get all this money, and all he has to do is kind of sell out the river. They want to dam up the river, and they'll give him all this money, the tribe all this money, and they can just kind of walk off into the sunset. And there's a certain type of man who would feel no two ways about that. And when it comes down to having Nora and this money or keeping the river and keeping his responsibility to someone who he owes, he chooses his responsibility. He
Mm-hmm.
chooses the river and and that, and Nora actually like loves him more for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh, he's a real one. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know how much she would have respected him saying, "Fuck that river," hey y'all, you know what I mean? And like it said, but that's my baby, and
Yeah.
having them walk off into the sunset,
Yeah.
and having the river choked and polluted. It was just like, but I got my baby, like I don't know if she would have been with that.
But
And
that
so
leads me
yeah,
into my second question
yeah,
about that. Um, the emotion, there was emotion versus logic with this book.
yeah, yeah,
How did you translate that into modern Black womanhood?
yeah, yeah. I I I I focused a lot on this contradiction between Nora and Yan.
Mm,
So Yan was all emotion. She wants to feel first. She jumped into love, in and out of love like the bed in the morning.
mm,
And Nora was so scared of living that way, of living
mm-hmm.
emotion first. She didn't want to have another situation where her ass was out on the internet. She
Yeah.
was so cautious. She was so logical in a way that her and her sister chafed against each other. They didn't understand each
Mm-hmm.
other. And by the end, Nora had to put herself out emotionally. She had
Mm-hmm.
to lay it on the line. She had to say, listen, this is what I feel. This is who I am. And hey, I made a tape. Love me or leave me. And but Yan, on the other hand, her sister had to learn how to reel in her emotions and decide who
Mm-hmm.
she was and what she actually wanted. there was no way to be super emotional or super rational.
Yeah.
I hope by the end you saw that both of those sisters needed a little bit of that
Yeah.
to make themselves even killed. You
It,
know?
it it balanced out. It balanced
Yeah.
out. It was like the yin to the yang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the princess and the PI.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks.
your
My
that's your
Marie.
romance suspense.
My
I don't have that book. I
Marie.
read it, but I don't have the. I'm a. That is the cutest cover.
Dang. Look,
I
see,
love
see,
that cover.
look at this. It's my favorite part right there.
Not the
Dang.
boobies,
Boobs.
not
The
the
boobs are the
tatas.
killers. Yes, man. Yes.
So Fiona is a Reddit detective, amateur sloth.
Yeah.
This is so modern and so millennial Gen Z coded.
Yeah.
What inspired her character?
Oh my gosh. I let me tell you something. I know people like this. I know people who know who got married on Love is Blind already. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Who read the marriage certificates on The Bachelor, like who know that who like they know that stuff already. And they live
yeah.
online. They have these communities. And just got curious about those people with super curated lives online and what they look like offline.
Mm,
And I also grew up in a high control religious background, like Church of God in
mm,
Christ. And I was very interested in like the stories they tell young women kind of about their bodies, especially growing
uh,
up when you start to develop and you can't trip men up. You now you're 11 and you have to be in charge of like the sexuality of like a 43-year-old man. So you
mm.
can't wear so you got to wear a different dress or and like that the language of our bodies and like the politics of respectability is something that
Yeah.
I just wanted to explore a little bit in Fiona.
Mm. So Maurice is running from a past case that kind of broke him.
Yeah.
How do you write male characters who carry emotional wounds without falling into toxic masculinity tropes?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think I love a sad boy. I love a boy who's trying to figure stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
But um but I don't know if it has to always be on the backs of women, right? Like
Yeah.
that's that aspect of misogynoir that you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
why does he have to figure himself out only in hurting her? You know what I mean?
Mm.
What if he's respects her and finds her interesting and finds her intelligent and sexy and all those things and still has to work his own shit out, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted these sad boys, to be working through things, but to not have to, shit um, on their characters, to still
Yeah.
find them respectable and good, and to lift them up and boost them up and be
Yeah.
awed by them.
So romance and suspense requires a lot of tight pacing.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you blend the heat with the stakes of corporate crime and murder
Yeah.
in there?
It was interesting. I had to slow it down at times because I wanted to like live in these moments when they're like together.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my favorite scenes is them when she's telling him the story of the princess and the pea, and
Mm-hmm.
he can't sleep, and she finally is just like, just come to this bed, boy, and I know, I still like get little butterflies thinking of it because that scene was so soft, but it was also Fiona starting to come into herself about her
Yeah.
desires and what she wanted, and it was a scene that I wanted to be very slow.
Mm.
And then there are scenes where Fiona's fighting like for her life, physically, and like things are happening in the way that they happen. Like, someone hits you, and you're on your ass, and suddenly like things are moving faster than you think. So I
Yeah.
think I wanted those action scenes and those scenes where they're trying to like figure something out to go at the pace of whiplash. Like, oh shit, this is
Yeah.
happening, this is happening. But those moments of tenderness, I wanted it to be, fall off the bone. I wanted to fall off the bone.
So the story also tackles stolen technology and inventions and corporate exploitation. Was this influenced by your work in tech and policy?
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly because we know that tech patents are really, really expensive, and that people of color are poor folk. I mean, poor white folk, and people of color are disadvantaged in that patenting space. They can
Mm-hmm.
invent something and not have the money or the time or the lawyers to get it patented, and their ideas are very easily stolen. And it's very hard to actually patent code. In fact,
Mm,
it's probably not like impossible. So you'll see oftentimes people's intellectual property just being churned up into the machine constantly, constantly, particularly
yeah.
from
So you've said church cemeteries and romance novels are still the most segregated places in America. Do you still feel that way, and why?
um I don't know if I still feel that exact way because I think there's plenty of interracial romance with like a white character and a black character. But that wasn't really the type of intercultural conversation that I was talking about.
Mm,
Oftentimes in those interracial stories where there's a white character and a black character, they aren't culturally that different. You know what I mean? Like they
yeah,
maybe grew up in the same neighborhood, or like one just happens to be white and one just happens to be black, and
yeah,
those aren't um, while they can be like steamy and good and interesting stories, like I really am deeply interested in having my characters have cultural conversations. Like even
yeah.
with Maurice and Fiona, who are ostensibly both black on the cover, this was a very intercultural relationship. She
Mm,
being and her father being African and he being like from DC, they had these like cultural things to overcome still, you know?
yeah. You are a part of the feminist writing collective Smut You.
Mhm. But you,
What does that space offer, and why is it important for writers of color?
I think writers have to bounce ideas off. They have to be able to say, "Hey, I'm having this crazy ass idea. Is this wild? Is this stupid?" You know,
Mhm.
I think you have to have a space where you trust the people, that you trust that they're going to get and understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
while at the same time policing when you have just ran off the edges. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So you need that space. You need those readers to say like, "Hey, this is what I think. This is what I um, this is what I enjoy." You especially need people
yeah,
to say this is working because sometimes
yeah.
you don't know. You know.
True. That's true. So, Regency writing while black makes many people outside of black romance more uncomfortable than actual taboo romance.
Mhm.
So, why do you think this is? Is it because they can't imagine us in luxury, softness, and historical relevance?
Yeah, yeah. I do think there's an aspect of a body at leisure,
Mm,
um, and if it's a black body, how it makes people nervous. I do think so. Right, this is me getting too deep already, but right after emancipation, certain
mhm.
laws started to pop up. Laws like loitering, right? And it became illegal for black bodies to hang around doing nothing. And even to this day, when you see a group of black kids gathered and you see a group of white kids gathered, what groups do you think are much more likely to be policed for someone to walk by and say, like, what's happening with them? I'm
Right.
saying all this to say that, like, there's something in at least American culture, like, remarkably uncomfortable about black bodies at leisure, you know,
Mm,
about black bodies at peace. And I just, this is a new thing for me, but I do think that a woman of leisure, who doesn't have work to do, who is not pained, who is not living paycheck to paycheck, and
mhm.
um, not like in a Tyler Perry movie, is fundamentally somehow unbelievable to white folk and a lot of black folk too.
Mhm. I believe that. I believe that
You know what I mean?
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I believe it wholeheartedly because a woman who can stay at home and her husband's like, I'm gonna just let you do what you do,
Mm.
and it's okay.
Yep.
They find some reason of saying she's lazy.
Yep. This ain't
She had
realistic.
to. She's a whore,
Yep.
or she is something that has to be wrong.
Something has to be wrong. Look at how they treating Princess Megan.
Mm,
Fundamentally suspicious of a woman at leisure. And she even
yeah,
got a she has a show now. She's like doing actual work, but it's fundamentally suspicious.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They is oh, she's living off his bootstraps,
Yeah.
his coattails.
Yep.
You know, because she's with a white man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice do you have? What advice do you give to upcoming Black romance writers who want to subvert genres, retail classics, or just write bodily or no, write boldly multicultural worlds?
Yeah. Yeah. I say that do not be afraid to put your voice in it. Your voice
Mhm,
is your DNA. Everyone starts off trying to write like someone else because they're just
mhm,
inspired by. Like I used to try to write like Stephen King. You know, everyone starts off trying to write like someone else, and you
mhm.
get your voice over time, and it even changes for the genre. I think
Yeah.
learning how you like to write, how you like your characters to see, is the biggest and best gift that you can ever give your writing. An
Yeah.
idea can't be patented. Everyone's going to have a similar. As a person who has written Jane Austen retellings, which there are 50 million of,
Mhm.
everybody has had a similar idea as you. And people get so, they're just like, oh, somebody also had an idea about a kidnapped princess in Tennessee. And I was like, even so, there's no way that these two books will be the same book. There's
Exactly.
just no way. And so like sometimes we get into this cult of originality. Like if it's not the newest, most original thing, it's not, you can't write it, but there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, when I came out with Pride and Protest, a book came out the same year and it was called um, Pause and Prejudice. And it was about a dog. Like, babe, like she was struggling. She was struggling. Okay? There's nothing new under the sun. But
Oh man.
no one's going to execute that book like you.
So what's next for you? Any new books, book signings, new
Ooh,
genres?
new genres. I have a very fun little revenge book coming up.
Oh,
Okay? It's about a woman who is coming out of prison, and she's been set up. She was this it girl. She's like, Real Housewives of the Potomac type black girl,
mm-hmm.
and when she comes out of prison, she's different, and she has researched these three people who have set her up, and these three people have got to go down, and that is the book. But also, of course, because it's me, it absolutely fucks. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So when we
It's a
can we expect that book?
I don't know. It's I don't know when it's exactly coming out, but I
Mm.
have loved writing it. It's a black woman and a Persian man. Nice little Middle Eastern love, a little
Mm.
something very interesting. A little Yar Shahidi in here, you know. Um,
Mm.
I'm very excited for this man. Very excited for this man. You know.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah. Let's get
Okay.
into it. Get into it. Let's get into it.
So do you have any events coming up?
On December 9th, I'm going to be at the Foley Theater. I'm going to be talking about Jane Austen and her legacy. I think her
Mm.
birthday is coming up, 250th birthday is coming up in December. So I'll be talking about that. And January 15th, which is a few months from now, I'm going to be at East City with Laquette. So I'm very excited about that.
One of these days we're gonna have to meet in person because
You have to.
I want to. I There's so many questions I want to ask, but I know the policing on social media can get extreme because the wrong person coming here, they'll knock all this shit over. So
Right.
I really want to have like an in depth conversation with you,
You
like
should.
because we touched some topics that I think should have went way further.
Your questions were gorgeous. This was one of the best interviews I've ever been on.
Oh, thank you.
Really
Tell a
great.
friend to tell a friend.
I sure will. I sure will. It's fantastic.
So, where can we buy your books? How can we
We're
support
everywhere.
you? What does it look like to support Nikki Payne?
I would say like ask your library for books. I think circulation metrics matter for me. I really love to see people checking out the books. And I have a Substack where I go into detail for like cultural phenomena. My most recent one was about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey's girlfriend and the
I read
man.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And it was kind of about white feminism and like what happens there. So I just like to have like really interesting cultural phenomena and see if I find something interesting to talk about there.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
You could be the most interesting person at Thanksgiving dinner, you know?
So what's your social media handles? Do you have a readers group or a newsletter besides Substack that people can follow?
No, Substack is my major
Mhm.
newsletter right now, but my social media handles are I can do this. Nikki Payne Romance on TikTok, Nikki Payne Books on Instagram, and Nikki Payne Books on Threads. I feel like I'm Nikki Payne Books everywhere else but
Yeah.
TikTok because I think it was taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm finna do your outro and
Okay.
I'll make like a few announcements and then we can get
Yeah.
out of here. All
All right,
right.
girl.
This is your outro. Nikki Payne is redefining who gets to be timeless, who gets to be classic, who gets to be desired, and who gets to be centered in literature, culture, and love. Her work is where anthropology meets romance, where blackness meets imagination, where technology meets storytelling, and where the canon gets cracked open and rewritten in our image. So make sure you follow her, support her, continue to demand a literary world that reflects us, honors us, and desires us out loud. And as I always say, stay loved, stay loud, and stay black on motherfucking purpose.
That part.
So, my announcements is y'all know Boozy Book Tour. We are having our Melanin Ball, our Black Indie Literary Award, and our Pajama Jam. That is in February 28th through March 1st. That is going to happen in Las Vegas this time. This year we had it in Tulsa. Next year we're having in Las Vegas. It's 3 days of fun. If you have never been to a college in the 90s homecoming, if you watch House Party 2, the Pajama Jam, that's what it's going to be. I
Oh,
wish you could come.
babe, when is it?
February 28th through March 1st.
February 28th through March 1st. Let me look at my calendar. Who can say? Let me look
Yes,
at my
I
calendar.
would love, 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 love for you to come.
We gotta
Um,
meet IRL. I'm gonna steal you from you. You're like I got a host. I was like, too bad we in this. Okay.